Hi, Craig. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Jay.
All right, now we've done the proper intro.
And it's Christopher.
Sure, man.
Because Panda's name is Chris, and you get us confused. That way you have to call me
No,
Christopher.
he is Panda, and you're
Mm.
Chris.
Topher.
I have never gotten it confused, not once, because he is Panda. He's not Chris to me. But
So,
yeah, we're the Grumpy Dungeon Masters. I'm Jay. That's Christopher.
there you go. Did you have a good week?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. We actually didn't get to play D&D again, though. We've missed the past few weeks. Well, actually, no, I ran last weekend, but we've missed a handful of weeks over the last
Yeah.
month.
I've noticed you missed a couple weeks, and yet, even though you're not playing D&D, you're not joining us every Saturday at 8 p.m. on
Oh,
Twitch.tv for the Dungeon
j-
Masters.
just because I'm not playing D&D doesn't mean I'm at home.
I mean, what else would you do?
If I'm not playing D&D, I'm probably playing Magic or board games.
Man, but you can still watch us on Twitch.tv/Grumpy Dungeon Masters every Saturday at 8.
Yes, everybody should be doing that. Everyone,
Yeah.
especially primarily if you're at home or if you're at work and have nothing to do.
I introduced two new kind of like pseudo NPCs. I had Invisor, the
See an
bloodshot
advisor.
eye gang leader, who is a spectator.
Invisor. Okay, I see what you did there.
Uh, and he has a pet displacer beast that is rainbow colored, named Sprinkles.
I like it. I can get behind that.
You know, and he basically leads a gang of red caps.
Yeah, mind you, displacer beasts are not rainbow colored, but
This
so
isn't Feywild.
my local vet is an Auburn fan for people who know anything about sports whatsoever. So every year, anytime I've been up there during like football season, I'll go in there and they have a cat that roams around on the inside and he's completely painted in Auburn colors every year. So I'm just imagining Sprinkles actually likes being painted, so they just paint him up in rainbow colors.
Well, he actually shifts colors because it's the Feywild. So
Don't mess with me on this. It's in my head. That's how it is. He's painted. He doesn't shift colors.
So basically, they met him, and he wasn't bloodthirsty or out to kill them or anything. The party said, "Hey, you need to get to the mine." He's like, "I'll let you into the mine. You just have to go get me a potion from the ooze shop over there."
Ah,
And
yes, the classic Final Fantasy. Sure, I can do this thing for you, but you have to go collect this thing for me.
so they had to get him a potion of giant growth, which was a potion of permanent giant growth
Ooh,
when they found it.
that's kind of valuable.
Yes. Um, and the goo shop was like an alchemy lab that just kind of went crazy. Panda did a great job of making it all goo filled and whatnot. And uh, I had all the monsters in there basically be like a giant like ochre jellies,
Mhm.
and large skeletons covered in goo as well. And essentially, I just kept their stats kind of very basic. They just punch and slam and whatnot. But then I attached the whole, if you hit them with a weapon, you get -1 to your weapon, and if they hit your armor, you get -1 to your armor.
So actually doing it properly.
Right. Adding in the rust monster, kind of
Yeah,
like for
making them an
fighting.
actual fucking threat.
Yes. So their weapons are degraded a little bit. Shelly shot one of the monsters with lightning,
Oh no.
and
Well, if were you also adding like in Black Ooze stats? Because I don't think Ochre Jelly split, but I know
Ochre
for
Jelly split when hit with lightning.
do they?
And
Okay, all right.
I didn't know how to split up an Ochre Jelly that was kind of like surrounding a skeleton, so I just had it like heal it a little bit.
I would have made it split into two. Just maybe keep the one on the skeleton or whatever.
Shelly actually mentioned after it's like, well, you just had it split in two. Like one's just the upper half of the skeleton and one's the lower half of the skeleton.
Perfect. Yeah, yeah, that works.
It may be too complicated for a write up. So Who
Well,
knows?
that's fair. You are thinking for actual write-up terms for D&D, whereas I'm just
Yeah.
thinking terms of running a game.
But they were able to get the potion. They fed it to the spectator. He went from being medium sized to large, or small to large. And yeah, he let them in. And the second that they unlocked the door and let them like go to the area where they can go down the stairs further into the mine, they realized that, oh yeah, we could just flown around and gotten to this other side here real easy. I thought that
Well,
was funny.
gotta do it the hard way, man.
Yeah, but
Uh,
they got the shorter of the paths that were available to them, and they might meet in Visor again. But it was a lot of fun. Basically, Advisor has a red cap on, so he's leader of the red caps.
right.
Uh,
Is he a red cap?
he's a spectator.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought you were. Yeah. Speaking of spectators and stuff, I've got to thinking back. I have never used any beholderkin ever in my D&D games besides an actual beholder.
Because it's really weird because the spectators and the gazers aren't really beholders in the sense of how beholders operate.
How so?
So I'll get them pulled up here. I'll pull up the spectator.
Yeah,
So a
as usual. As
spectator,
usual, I don't have my books in front of me.
so a spectator is essentially ritual summoned by a lesser being to be a magical guardian for 101 years. All
Okay.
right. So he has like some of the beholder stats and whatnot. Um, but basically he can't dream other spectators into existence. The
Right.
only way they're made is they get summoned from other planes. Like you try to like summon an aberration, and he
Does
shows up.
it say specifically that that's how they're summoned, or that they, or
Yes.
does it? uh, Because my initial thought, because I know how beholders are made, was that summoning one just pulls them from a dreamscape.
No. That's how the lesser. It's a lesser beholder. That's someone from another plane of existence by a magical ritual, the components of which include four beholder eye stalks that are consumed by the ritual's magic. Appropriately, a spectator has four eye stalks, two on each side, with a wide eye in the center and a 4 foot diameter body. So he's a lesser beholder, made by summoned by using parts of a beholder.
By using half of a beholder, or
Right.
about a third of a beholder, I guess.
And then I think a gazer is even different. Different.
Different herb. Yeah, that seems. I don't know. It better be a pretty decent guardian because you have to kill a beholder just to make one of these things.
Right. Um.
Wonder if they get pissed off after their 101 years are up.
No, they
Like,
disappear.
well, I'm sure they go back to whatever plane they were from. But just like
So
just like demons and devils, they don't like being bound into servitude. I'd be willing to. I might have to run something like that where a beholder or a spectator
there's
comes back just pissed off.
a block on that. Freed from service. When a spectator has fulfilled its service, it is free to do as it pleases. Many take up residence in the place they previously guarded, especially if their summoners have died. With the spectator's loss of purpose, the flickers of madness it displayed during its servitude flourish. This may or may not be important to the whole idea of why I picked spectator as the thing for everything.
I mean, he was free to go and get red hat and
You got a red
take
hat.
over a gang.
Yeah. Um, I don't know if beholders, spectators, gazers can talk.
The holders
I know they.
absolutely can.
Uh,
Uh,
beholder.
100% beholders can talk. They even
They
talk
have
in video games.
deep speech, and undercommon.
hmm
All right, and I think like every beholder I've seen speaks common.
I
You
mean,
know,
it's pretty normal for DMs like to just make things simple in that regard
yeah.
most of the time.
So a spectator has deep speech, telepathy 120 feet, and undercommon.
So
And
he'll just talk to you in your head.
yeah, and that's what mine does. He's like, "Hey, hey, get over here!"
Now,
um,
does he actually have to speak if they have a ring of mind shielding?
probably.
That would honestly, it'd probably just irritate him.
He can make his own food and water, which is interesting. I find that funny
What
because
is it? Does an
he's
eye
just like,
stalk just create food and water?
yeah, food, water,
All right.
because that's his job. His job is just to sit there and be a guardian. He's a summoned guardian.
He's not a butler, not a chef.
Ooh, you broke up there pretty bad.
I say,
But yeah,
yeah, I was saying he's a guardian. He's not a butler or a chef.
you know. So I really like spectators. There's not used much because I think the official standpoint, people use them what how they're supposed to be used, and it's kind of hard to kind of work that in, you know.
Yeah,
But I'm working it in.
I've just never thought about using them. Like I've always enjoyed beholders. Uh, Technically, I shouldn't even have beholders in my world, since I don't really have an underdark. I don't have mind flayers, but
Well,
I've always just sort of used them.
beholders are aberrations, so they could just be from anywhere,
Yeah,
you know.
I know. I mean, I guess technically they don't have anything to do with mind flayers, but
Right.
I always mentally I always sort of link the two together.
Yeah.
Probably because I just played too many campaigns that involved both of them.
And the one I have is going to be a little bit more beefy if the players decide to ever fight with it or tangle with it, because DC 13 is really easy to pass all the time.
Is that the saves?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not that hard at all. Hell, even
Nope.
at like first level, that's not even that difficult.
Nope. It'll be a little bit more difficult if they ever go back and fight them, but it'll be interesting if they can try.
Yeah.
I was trying to make up unique stats for Sprinkles, the techno colored displacer beast.
Oh my
But
god.
at the end of the day, I just was like, I'm not going to change a single thing on it. It's a displacer beast. You
He
know,
he he's a disraber beast.
this Raber beast. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. That. Oh man. God, why do you have to give me such great ideas for my own games now?
I
Gonna have a displacer beast or who likes to rave.
I also had they also went through another encounter where I had basically a party that died, and essentially it was a whale geared party. They were trying to go through the mine or try to find the mine or whatever. I really didn't make up a story, but they're all sitting around a table. So one of them's turned into a white, one of them's turned into a ghoul, the rest are turned into zombies, and they're all just like sitting at a table until the white decides to kind of get up and attack the party once they enter the room. Um, I know. I just kind of took all the base stats and just like gave them all 5 more AC and 2 more plus to hit, 2 more extra damage, and that was the entire encounter. And it was interesting how like even like the weakest of zombies could like be changed 100%
Well,
just by
yeah.
adding more AC and more plus to hit, and not adding anything else.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Yeah.
you literally described most of my encounters. I mean, I will have players fight groups of zombies at my players are sixth level at this point or so. And I have no problem throwing them against groups of zombies and other just you look at them in the monster manual, they're half hit die or 1/8 hit die or something like that. But if you just throw some AC on them, throw some more hit points on them, a little extra plus to hit, I mean, those are the only real stats that you have to alter to make them compatible with higher levels. A lot of
Yep.
times you don't even have to change the ACs. I mean, zombies are supposed to have crap AC anyway. Just
Yeah.
throw more hit points on there. Yeah, depending on the level of the party, maybe an extra attack or something.
Yeah, that's what I kind of did. I kind of made the white a pseudo legendary, where he had a way to bring back somebody instantly if they died around him,
Bring
or if
back
there was a
zombies.
corpse. Yeah, bring back zombies.
That's
And I
cool.
was giving him a third attack, which was technically his legendary attack action, just at the end of his turn.
Yeah, and as long as he's only dealing, kind of standard damage, 1d8 or 1d6 plus strength. I mean, it's not that bad.
One of the players. What was funny too is I was sitting there with a mind. It's like, okay, if if there's a corpse nearby, he'll raise it. There's a chance that their corpses could be nearby. Um, and one of the players basically decided to basically kill a kobold because they pulled 2 encounters at once, and then
No.
fling the kobold at the white. So the white basically just like grabbed the kobold before it disappeared by the shadow tendrils that are pulling on my kobolds into like this weird shadowy place,
Okay.
and basically raise it as a zombie kobold.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you do. And then you send it back at them. Give it
So
the command to kill the living.
overall, it went really well. Um, and Payne is working on the next map, so hopefully he can get that done for me by then. And the campaign's working well. I need more time so I can actually write more of the stuff down. You know,
Yeah,
I've been
because
keeping like lots
you're
of
running it
notes.
week. You're running it week to week at this point.
Yeah,
So you're just having to. I know how it goes as a DM, and I actually have. I run mine every 2 weeks on average, assuming things work out. And even then, I'm pushed for getting everything created a lot of the
yeah.
time. And
But
I'm
it's
not. I'm
it's
not trying to write a whole campaign like you are.
it's working out well. I did also basically put, because it's the month of October now. I did decide to put up Dread of the Ice Devil and DM's Guild. That's up now right now for 50% off. So if you want to go buy that and help me get the last 30 copies that I need sold, and I'll have 500 copies sold of that,
Yeah,
and I'll
if
make
you
a
haven't
gold
checked it
medal.
out, check it out. It's lots of fun. Lots of stabbing in the ankles.
Lots of stabbing and angles. Somebody, somebody, I posted this in Rhyme of the Frost Maiden on Reddit, and I got one response. It was like, "Cool, I'll check it out." I was like, "Thank you." How easy is to put the roll 20? I'm like, okay, yeah, this is it. It's pretty easy. Then some guy says, "What makes this one shot unique? If I'm running Rhyme of the Frostmaiden, and always on lookout for cool new content, but many of the best ideas are free on Reddit or other pages. So why this?" I'm not going to answer you. Whether you like it or not, just buy it if you like it or don't.
Yeah.
I'm not going to waste my time explaining to you why the month long slog that I went through to write something and publish something, hire artists and hire other people to kind of review this thing for me and get it published and sold. I don't have to prove myself to you because you just want to be a dick because it's not free.
Yeah. Why this one? Maybe because it sold how many copies at this point?
470.
Yeah, maybe because it sold 400 plus fucking copies. That's why.
I got to work on the sequel too. That's still in the works. I'll be able to put some work into it tonight once we're done recording the podcast. But I really want to get that out here by the end of the year.
Good
So
luck, man.
yeah, it's a lot of writing.
It is a lot of writing because you're writing this one campaign and then you're looking to write the sequel by the end of the year.
Well, I can do it. I believe in myself, and that's all I need, right?
I absolutely believe you can do it.
Yeah,
Can do it. Whether you will do it,
can. So there's a bunch of funny D&D memes that kind of like come in waves, and the current one right now is about werewolves,
okay.
and
I haven't. I don't believe I've seen these.
I think it was the Pondering Raptor meme where it said something along the lines of, since werewolves' claws are not magical, and the werewolves can only get hurt by magical attacks or attacks that are silvered, and werewolf claws are not magical or silvered, then there's no way one werewolf could kill another werewolf.
Makes sense.
So then the funnier one that came up today was, eh, if werewolves are immune to all damage that are not magical or silvered, are werewolves able to take fall damage when neither magic nor silver is involved?
You can still take massive if you
But it's
fall.
just but it's just bludgeoning when you
The,
fall.
if I recall right, well, it might just be a DM prerogative thing. I don't know for sure. I think massive though. If you take just massive, it just outright kills you.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So
I'll have to look into that one.
I
That's a
A fall from a great height is one of the most common hazards facing an adventurer. At the end of the fall, a creature takes 1d6 bludgeoning damage for every 10 feet it fell, to a maximum of 20d6. The creature lands prone unless it avoids taking damage from the fall. Now, there have been plenty of times where barbarians have been thrown off of a cliff, and they survive the fall because they take half damage from bludgeoning attacks.
Yes. Barbarians also have, depending on level, several hundred hit points.
Right. But because the fall is neither magical nor silvered, a werewolf would not take any damage from the fall.
So that they take no damage, or they take, yeah, I guess they take none from magical or non-magical. See, now this is how messed up I am. When you started talking about this, about the fact that werewolf claws are not magical and that they can't hurt each other, I got to thinking about, well, what if two werewolves are trying to do, foreplay? One of them's a masochist, one of them's a sadist. Like, how's that gonna work out? One of them's just
I
gonna
just
get
can't-
pissed off.
I've always assumed that when you don't take damage from an attack, you still get caused pain, but you've just grown accustomed to the fact that there's no damage there, and you're just kind of like ignoring the pain.
Maybe, but that's not how I think of it. I think of it as you don't, take the effects at all.
Well,
Even if you want to.
so if not taking damage means you don't feel any pain, that means that that other parts of your body are not feeling things as well. Like, have you lost all sense of touch? There's a recorded case out there, and this is just going to be from my memory, but I know if I Google it for a little while, I could probably find it. And it was about a girl who literally is immune to pain. Her body
uh,
can't process pain. But because of that, she can't process other things like her full bladder. Like, she can't feel that her bladder is full. She can't feel that her stomach's full. Like, none of those signals go off because they kind of go to the same place that pain goes to.
there,
And
she,
since yeah, so she has to go off by like a timer to go to the bathroom, or else her body can't tell her that she has to.
I don't know if she sounds like an extreme example of it.
It is.
I
It
know
is.
for a fact that there are a lot of people out there who have issues with pain receptors. People who do that, they just always have to be very cautious about getting hurt because they may not even realize they're hurt and bleed to death.
Yeah.
Also, they made a movie about that. It was called Kick Ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happened to the kid. He got in the accident and then he couldn't feel pain, so he decided to become a superhero and was really bad at it.
So, I mean, is that how big bad end guys that are immune to non-magical damage, can they just not process pain? Is that why they're the big bad guy, because they can't work through their pain?
No, because if they're not taking damage, it's not a matter of pain. It's just they're not taking damage. We just established that people who can't feel pain can still die from damage.
Yeah, I guess.
So not taking damage, it could be insta regeneration, which is how I've pictured it a lot of times. You get hit, you feel the cut, and immediately it just seals up if it's not the right kind of damage coming through.
Yeah. There's a there's a comic with the Incredible Hulk, kind
Hmm.
of showing the levels of his regeneration, and like how just insane it really is. Um, some superhero, I can't remember who, sliced open his stomach. Okay. And then he basically took his arms and grabbed his intestine and shoved it back into his body. All right. And then his stomach wound healed around his arms. And so he had to rip his arms back out of his stomach, causing more wounds, which
Which
then
then
instantly
instantly
healed
healed.
back
Yep.
up.
Yeah, no, it was actually the Hulk comic that got me in that mental process of thinking of it that way. Because
Yeah.
I remember that from God 80s or 90s, probably was in the 90s when I was reading it. I read a comic where that he basically just insta healed most of the damage coming through.
Yeah. All the great moments in comics are all Hulk related.
I don't know about
Well, well,
that.
well, like him coming back as Werewolf Hulk was very fun. Like how he beat the Juggernaut and how he beat Iron Man, and
I will
How
admit,
he beat Ghost Rider, all those insane leveled superheroes.
I will admit my absolute favorite comic that is not Knights of Dinner Table, but just singular issue ever involved the Hulk. And it's a Warlock and the Infinity Watch issue where Drax and the Hulk get into a fight.
Hmm.
And for everybody who's seen the movies and they're like, "Oh, Drax is a pussy. He couldn't fight the Hulk." No, no, no. That's the movie version. The comic book
Yeah.
version, the old version of Drax the Destroyer, he was literally built to murder Thanos.
Hmm.
He is on par, if not more powerful than the Hulk. So seeing those two get into a fight in the middle of a city is, I mean, that's impressive. It's fun to watch. And then of
Well,
course the fight
a
ends
base
when
Hulk.
Drax gets tired of it and just wanders off.
Yeah, a base Hulk. He's the equivalent to a base Hulk.
No, strength wise, he is actually stronger than the Hulk.
No, Hulk's strength is technically infinite.
Well, that is also not the case, but I'm going off of Marvel. I can bust out my old Marvel superheroes, the tabletop RPG for actual
Yeah.
stats. That's literally how I base all of this stuff off of. It's
Well, which Hulk is in there? Is that the Professor Hulk, or is it
no, it is old Hulk.
so? Is
It
it Savage Old Hulk or is it Brute Old Hulk?
it is 1980s the Hulk.
Right.
It
Which
is
one?
pre.
The
It is
Savage one or the Brute one?
I don't know what's the damn difference. It's the Hulk that gets pissed off and smashes things.
Most of them do that, but there's variants of all of them.
It's before Gray Hulk.
Okay, so it was most likely the Brute one, or like, maybe it could have been Savage. But so like the Savage one, when it transforms, it's got a certain level of power, and then as long as he gets into the cycle of always fighting things, then he'll just continuously get stronger, and that scales infinitely.
Yeah. So
Um,
the Hulk did not scale infinitely. He actually
then
had a limit. It was pretty high. It was higher than Drax, but Drax's
then
normal strength
yeah,
he is stronger than standard Hulk.
then it was probably the Brute variant. Because the Brute variant's the one that's like, okay, I'll go. It's kind of like the one you see in the movies where like he has some semblance of intelligence, kind of walking around and doing things.
Yeah.
Um, so that's kind of like the Brute variant, where like not all the stats are kind of shoved in the strength. Where you have Savage, which is just punch things until it stops, and you get punched back. You just punch back harder. Um, then there's like the variant with like the Phoenix taking Bruce Banner's consciousness out of the Hulk, and that one being strong enough to just punch through ethereal planes. And then there's World War Hulk and a few others. And I can go, we could turn this into the Hulk podcast, knowing all the
Yeah.
information we have on
Thank you
that.
guys for listening to Grumpy Marvel Masters.
I will say this though, in the more recent comic books, they've established that you know there's the one above all. You know who that is? You
Beyonder.
love that? No, the one above all is essentially the Stan Lee. It's like the god of gods, like the top entity in the universe.
No, the Beyonder.
No, he's above the Beyonder. Well, anyways,
So the
there's the
Beyonder.
one. No, he's above the Beyonder. He's the one above all, as his name states. Well, there's also the universe, which is the one below all, which is essentially the devil.
Yeah.
Um, so the latest Hulk comic is very Cthulhian and Lovecraftian inspired, where his gamma radiation was raising armies of the undead
I
wherever
remember
he
you
went.
telling me about this nonsense.
Yeah, and then like it turns out that the one below all um, is essentially the source of gamma radiation in the universe. And essentially, the devil's made up of gamma radiation, and that's why Hulk has the Devil Hulk variant of him.
Say
And that just
Marvel
makes
writers, you
it
guys
fun.
are weird.
Yeah, I
Y'all
mean, you could
you come up with some weird ideas.
much like in Dungeons and Dragons, the writer, or in this case, the DM, is the one that kind of like sets the power level to a monster. Like you can make a beholder a chump all the time, or you can make it the worst thing to ever show up. You know, and that's the same thing with comics. It's just like the Thanos in the the movies is much stronger. It feels like than the standard Thanos because it just how like no one could even get close to touching him and beating him.
Standard.
Um,
No, I think of the comic book Thanos as way more dangerous.
well, it would be the one that won. The one that lost the fist fight that was like 2 decades younger was like very weak Thanos. Hey guys, Chris here, hopping in the middle of the podcast to give you all of our announcements. Be sure to watch our live stream every Saturday at Twitch, twitch.tv/Grumpy Dungeon Masters at 8 p.m. Make sure to visit our website, grumpydungeonmasters.com, and order yourself one of our gift packs of Grumpy Dungeon Master dice. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Grumpy Dungeon Masters, and be sure to follow us on Twitter at Grumpy DMs on Twitter. Be sure to check out our new buddies, Fate Awakens, on YouTube at youtube.com/Fate Awakens. And also be sure to tune in every Friday at 4 p.m. when they release their new live play D&D session of their homebrew campaign. As always, be sure to check out Synergy Gamers at synergy-gamers.com. Use code word Grumpy for 5% off any online order. Anything else to add, Jay?
Nope, just over here dancing on TikTok.
All right. It's interesting how monsters have this kind of sense of like it really depends on the person playing them with how strong they are. Like
Oh
when I
yeah,
play with when I run Duragar are a little bit stronger and Duragar are a little bit harder to fight. But then again, if you run Duragar, it may be complete opposite. They may be chumps because you don't like them turning invisible and stabbing you in the ankles.
yeah, that's
What I
fair.
do.
That is a fair assessment. I just generally don't like Duergar that much, which is why I don't include them in my world. But I don't like most of the Underdark stuff, which is why I don't include it in my world.
You know, Underdark's fun.
It's I grew up on it, so to me it's just oversaturated.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Like because I like the first D&D novel I ever read was fucking the Crystal Shard. So it was all Dristord, and then immediately after that, it was all Underdark all the time. And just through that era, that was it was just hugely oversaturated, in my opinion, within
Yeah.
D&D. Like I've played in so many campaigns that were mind flayers or dark elves or things like that. Duergar, not so much, but otherwise it was Underdark type stuff. So
Yeah.
I moved myself away from that as much as possible.
So getting back to the werewolf thing, uh, you have massive damage, a variant rule that's rarely used.
Yep, that's
What
the
is
one I use.
considered what is considered massive damage for you then?
Massive damage. I would actually have to look up the exact wording. If I recall right, it's if you take. Oh, geez, what is it in fifth actually?
It says the optional rule makes it easier for a creature to be felled by massive damage. When a creature takes damage from a single source equal to or greater than half of its hit point maximum, it must succeed a DC 15 Constitution saving throw or suffer a random effect determined by a roll on the system shock table. For example, a creature that has a maximum hit points of 30 must make a Constitution save if it takes 15 damage or more from a single source. And the system shock is on a D10. 1 is the creature drops to 0 hit points. 2 to 3, 0 hit points but stable. 4 to 5, they're stunned until the end of next turn. 6 and 7 is they can't take reaction, have disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks until the end of next turn. And 8 through 10 is the creature can't take reactions until the end of its next turn. And I kind of use this for my coup de grace,
Mhm.
essentially, because there's no coup de grace in 5th edition.
Yeah, I run this very, very differently. I run all of that differently.
For me, if a rogue sneaks up on somebody and they're asleep and they stab them, all right, it's a critical hit because they're helpless, they're asleep.
Yeah,
And then if you do more than half their hit points and damage, you're pretty much dead. And that's I'll let the players get away with that. I probably won't let the monster get away with that, but depends on how I'm feeling and how I want the story to kind of go. Because you're helpless at that point in time, so the massive damage in this case is just you're just straight dead. Um, and I have never used the DC 15 con save ever. I don't think.
I have.
And by massive, it's usually like when you get hit by a ballista, not
Not
the ballista bolt, the
the
actual
ballista. Yeah,
ballista.
no, that's a thing. That's happening, by the way.
That was a great comic.
Yeah,
Uh, so yeah, like if an elephant falls on you, that's massive damage, but
yeah.
it's not actual damage. It's really hard. There's no rules for like
So
what happens when a 4-ton elephant steps on you.
yeah, earlier I always harken back to the earlier editions. They had actual set rules for massive damage, and it was insta death. It wasn't you're stunned. It wasn't you're prone. It was just you're dead if you took massive damage. You get,
Mhm.
I think you got your con save, but if that fails, you just toast.
Yeah.
If I recall correctly, I think it was one or the other, and I can't remember exactly which. I'd have to go look for third, but it was either exactly like you said, more than half of your hit points in a single attack, or it was just 50 damage in a single attack. I can't recall which it was.
Mhm.
Uh, I am generally of the mindset with massive damage. I don't even incorporate it at the lower levels of the game because when you're first level and you've got 8 hit points or 12 hit points and something hits you for 6, I'm not going to make you, you know, require a roll against that because that's just ridiculous. You're going to get hit for more than half your hit points when you're first or second level.
Mhm.
So I just sort of started incorporating it later in the levels once players start getting larger amounts of hit points. And there's only a couple of situations where I would ever actually include it. One is the scenario you were kind of speaking of. Like if an elephant falls on you or you get tossed off a cliff, things like that. In that case,
Mhm.
yeah, I probably would actually include massive damage. The other one would be if I have some sort of an incredibly powerful boss. If you're fighting a dragon and it does 65 damage to you in a single attack, and that's more than half of your hit points, yeah, I probably would require a, con save in that case.
Yeah, the DMG, for as much as people complain about 5th edition, um, it covers so much extra
By the
things.
way, I'm not done complaining about it. I got some more things to go on about tonight.
Okay. Like there are options in 5th edition for like climbing, how to climb onto a creature, how to disarm a creature,
Yeah.
mark a creature, overrun, shove, tumble. Like those are rules that are laid out in 5th edition.
Yep.
Yet no one knows what they are. I
I
could
mean,
ask you,
hell, I
what's
don't.
how do you do a tumble? Just take a guess. How do you do a tumble?
You
This is
roll.
this is
You
going
roll. You
through.
roll acrobatics.
This is you're going through a creature square.
Yep.
So how would you do it?
Uh, so how I would do it, and I don't know if this is what it is in fifth. I'm pretty certain this is what it was in third. You can move half of your movement if you succeed on an acrobatics check against. I don't remember what the DC would be, but if you succeed on your acrobatics check, it doesn't get a reaction attack against you as you move through.
So tumble. A creature can try to tumble through a hostile creature's space, ducking and weaving past the opponent. As an action or a bonus action, the tumbler makes a dexterity acrobatics check contested by the hostile creature's dexterity acrobatics check. If the tumbler wins the contest, it can move through the hostile creature space once this turn.
So basically, what I said was the
But very different, yeah.
half movement. But yeah, that's exactly what I said. I didn't know what the DC was.
Um,
So that actually hasn't changed a huge amount from third.
yeah. I had it on my New Year's resolution to read through the DMG to learn all these like intricate rules
Hmm.
because there's even rules for cleaving through creatures, which
Oh, is there? Huh.
I've known that known that it's there, but I've never been able to pull it into play and use it.
I mean, I
It's
know about
essentially
the cleave feet, but
it's like if you make a melee attack that reduces an undamaged creature to 0 hit points, any excess damage from the attack might carry over to another creature nearby.
huh. What page is that on?
I chapter 9
Chapter
combat
9.
options.
Okay. But
There's
you say combat options, so these are all
yeah,
alternative rules.
yeah, but they're all optional rules, and
Yeah. Which I do love a lot of optional rules. I'm not gonna lie.
There's an injury table. There's a morale table. I use morale a lot though.
Yeah,
Um,
we've talked about it on here before. I don't use whatever their table is, but I absolutely do utilize morale.
yeah, different types of initiative. We've talked about that before.
Oh yeah,
But it's interesting how there all these rules are there to make this game much more interesting, much more in depth. And people keep saying this is the easiest edition, which has no options. Like they're all there. You just got to go out there and implement them and
y-
then enforce them, which I
yeah,
think is the harder part because like I could say we're going to use speed factor initiative modifiers and here's the table and make sure you do it right and then we're all going to forget.
yep. It is true. Like I am one of the worst about it. I will bitch and complain about fifth edition being a simplified edition, and I absolutely will complain about them dumbing it down, specifically when it comes to spellcasting monsters going forward, and making counterspell fucking useless. But at the same time, you're not wrong. Like a lot of this stuff is out there in the DMG, and I've known it was, and a lot of it I just overlook or don't use. So that's on me.
Yeah.
Third edition, a lot of this stuff was not optional. It was this is what you do. These are the rules. So that's sort of the difference between fifth and third. Is third they had some variant stuff, but the vast majority of that stuff you're talking about was just the rules.
Yeah.
So now they've made it a variant where you can and cannot include it if you want, which honestly is probably better for the game. But at the same time, for the people who've played for a long time, it just feels like it's dumbed down.
So since you brought it up, let's talk about the topic you
Oh
want to
yeah,
talk about.
yeah. You knew I was going to talk about it.
All
So
right, Mr. Complainy Pants, let's talk
no,
about it.
no. Go ahead and explain the whole process because I know you had posted about it and I had already read it before you even did.
Oh no, no, no. This is yours. I got mine. This is yours. You go.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't have it in front of me. But the basics of it are that with the changes coming up to 5th edition and them talking about removing spellcasting lists from the vast majority of monsters and instead just giving them abilities. So say there's a monster that would normally have, a third level spell, a couple of seconds and a few first. They might pull that entire spell list and say they get to do fireball once a day, but they're not going to call it fireball and it's not a spell. It's an ability that they just get that'll do the 8d6 of damage just like fireball does. All right,
Mhm.
initially you might say that seems cool. That's making it simpler for any dungeon masters out there. They don't have to look up spells, they don't have to worry about any of this stuff, but at the same time, it screws any players who utilize counterspell, which is actually an archetype by the way, because the Maw campaign that we were playing, I was playing a wizard who was that archetype. It was out of not Tasha's, it's out of Xanathar's, as I don't have the book in front of me. But it would actually that archetype would get bonuses by counterspelling stuff.
Mhm.
So if this thing has an ability that is not fireball, counterspell does not work on that.
Okay. I mean, I can see the issue. I mean, I understand everyone's issue with counterspell and moving a spell to a spell-like ability and not being able to counter that spell-like ability. All they'd have to do is basically just state in the book that that counterspell now works on spell-like abilities and define them as such.
Sure, they absolutely could do that. I don't think they
If it's
will.
if it is a spell attack, it can get counterspelled.
Yeah, once again, they can do that. I don't believe they will.
Maybe.
Not for a second. And I'm jumping the gun here until I see it in writing. I don't truthfully know, but I don't trust them to do that.
Yeah, the whole idea of simplifying the monsters, I'm on board with it. At the same time, I'm just like, leave it as it is. And I'm on board with it because if I'm at a table playing something new, I want to have easier monsters to run. So I don't have to have books with me when I don't Well, I don't know what they do, you know. But
Yeah.
because wherever I go, I have internet, and wherever I go that has internet that I'm playing a game, I bring my tablet with me. I can just look up all the spells, or use D&D Beyond's Encounter Builder, and I just tap on the spell, and that's where the spell is. So I don't. It doesn't slow me down at all having them the old way.
Yep.
The new way is more for like if I'm running it straight from the book and I don't have a tablet on me, and that's I can understand that, and it's fine. When you compare the two war priests together, I don't feel either is worse or better.
Yes. You don't really
It's
have a.
just
It sounds like you don't really have a strong position on this whatsoever. I know I have a massively strong position on it, and I can
as
speak.
long as long as both of them are available.
And I can say that my other DM as well, Johnny, also has a really strong position on this that agrees with mine. Like when I showed up for Magic the Gathering, like we play Magic on Fridays. When I showed up for our regular game night, I get over there. Hell, he's just sitting there thumbing through the Pathfinder books. Uh, like we're already talking about converting over as soon as we finish our campaigns.
I think it's a little hard. I know. I
No,
mean,
we've
that's a
been pretty
little
upset.
drastic.
Like we've been pretty upset with the way fifth edition's been going anyway. And all of us, at least with like, there's not enough stuff.
All right, you cut out for like 10 seconds there.
All right. Well, I'll try to do this again. Hopefully, Craig doesn't screw us on this.
Mm.
What I was saying though is that within my play group, all of us feel very strongly that we are really limited by what we can play in fifth edition. And this isn't even a rules issue. This isn't all of that, but we've just sort of gotten to the point where we played everything in fifth edition we want to play. So variety is the spice of life, as it is, and Pathfinder offers that. Third edition, like 3.5, offered just massive, massive amounts of character classes, other races, things that don't exist in fifth edition without digging into DM's Guild and hoping that you don't use something that's incredibly fucking broken.
Hmm. I can understand that. I would just go to a whole different system that's not like Pathfinder. Like I wouldn't go to another version of D&D, and Pathfinder to me is just another version of D&D.
I don't mind another version of D&D. Pathfinder is just 3.75. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
I would
just a.
I would go to like whatever that D6 system is they use for like the Fallout game and a couple others. Um,
My
I'd find a whole different unique system and play that.
my problem with that, and then this is the one that we've run into before because I've tried running other systems. In my old age, I don't want to learn new systems.
Well,
I've messed with it. Like I was supposed to be running a Shadowrun campaign a few years back, and that just fell by the wayside because I didn't want to learn a new system. Then I was supposed to run an Alternity game, and that fell by the wayside because I didn't want to run a new system. So we ended up with D&D fifth, which is easy to run, but it just doesn't have the variety that we desire.
use the Fate system. That's
Oh
easy.
hell no! I played that. That system was terrible.
Um,
And
then
for
play
people
the
who love the Fate system, I'm not shitting on you. I personally did not enjoy the Fate system.
then go with the what are the system they designed for
I would
Star Wars game.
I would probably check out the ones that the Dragonlance creators are putting together, but it's not out yet. Whenever that comes out, I would most likely look into that. I would also consider Hackmaster because it's just an earlier, real early version of D&D.
Whatever the Modifius group is.
I don't know what that is.
That's the one that has Fallout. They use 2D20 as their system. So they
Oh,
have their licenses include Cthulhu because everybody, Conan, Devil's Run, Dishonored, Dune, Fallout, Homeworld, Infinity, John Carter, Mutant Chronicles, and Star Trek.
I do love some Mutant Chronicles. Haven't played that since the '90s, but
But you can get your Dune game.
That is true, man. I didn't know there was actually a Dune system out there.
Get your Dune on.
Ooh, you're speaking my language here. But already have another D&D campaign planned after this one, unfortunately.
You get the
Hmm.
core rulebook for $21.
Oh shit, son! I'm about to make an order.
Uh,
Why you got to do
yeah.
this to me, man?
Ooh, yeah.
Hey,
Yeah,
hey, for my other players who listen to the podcast, it's his fault if I don't run my next D&D campaign. His fucking fault. It's Waple's fault.
they have the Sand and Dust source book, a collector's edition version of it.
What source
Uh,
book?
it's called Sand and Dust.
Oh, sand and dust. Okay.
Yep. The Treaties Game Master Bundle, which comes with the DM screen, uh, the DM's guide, the player's guide.
It's gonna get real bad when I see the movie at the end of this month or early next month, whenever the hell it releases. Because then I'm
Mm,
definitely gonna have the desire to run that
isn't it already out? Oh yeah, that's right.
in
It's out
Europe.
everywhere but America.
Yeah, everywhere except for the place that matters, America. I love you, Europe, but I want my movie. But
So yeah,
yeah,
there's a Dune system already out there, man.
yeah, yeah. It's probably gonna happen.
They have a James Bond board game.
Oh yeah, I've known about that for a while.
Uh, Kung Fu Panda.
I like the first movie a lot. Like I used to watch it all the time. Very good. Which is
But yeah,
weird because I hate Jack Black, but
I really want this Fallout RPG system. Um,
why not just order it? Order it and run it. You're
I,
sitting here
I
telling me to get Dune, and here you are. I really want the Fallout one.
I know, but it's more of key. I've mentioned it and dropped the hints and hoping I get it for Christmas, kind of thing.
Oh, okay. I got you. I got you. So I won't say anything.
Yeah,
Here's hoping.
just gotta mention to the wife, or get the Transformer system, which I learned about after our podcast
I
before.
saw somebody messaged us about that.
Yes. So yeah, that is that may be on the list too. No one wants to play a Transformer game with me though. I guarantee it.
I mean,
Just as bad as
if I
the
lived
Volt.
anywhere near you, I would. But to be fair,
Uh,
if I'm not having to run a system, I'll play any system. Like I bitch about the Fate system being garbage, but if the DM's good and the game's fun, I'll still play.
yeah. So you're having your issues with D&D 5e and WotC as a company.
Oh yeah.
What is your opinion on the DLC?
The what?
Oh, you've not heard about this.
The DLC. What do you mean? I know what DLC is in video game terms.
So do you know you got your Feywild book on you? Oh, you don't have Feywild, do you?
That's right, I don't. Although
So
I am looking at borrowing a copy here, hopefully soon. That way I can read through it.
so if you go to page 131 in the Feywild book, there's this awesome picture of this massive spider, this gargantuan huge spider, with a book, and he's reading the book to like all the small woodland creatures that exist.
Okay.
And in the text at the bottom, it says the following: the forest of Tither is home to other strange creatures, including a giant storytelling spider named Yarn Spinner, who is detailed in The Domains of Delight, a Feywild supplement on Dungeons Masters Guild.
Oh hell no.
So I still want to do a video review of Wild Beyond the Witchlight.
You
I
should.
think the adventure is good, and I didn't want just to have like, oh, a knee jerk reaction. Here's 100 reasons why the book is crap. Without, I really want to have a really good, real thought out review, not
Right.
just some, hey, let's strike while the iron's hot. Here's a 5-minute video about the stupid book.
If you want to do reviews and have anybody respect your opinion, you at least need to do a proper review, not a knee jerk. This sucks.
So in the Feywild book, the first paragraph of like the very first introductory chapter says that if you want to learn more about the Feywild, go to the DMG. You go to the DMG, it's like half a page,
Right.
and it's very sparse. It talks about the 4th edition Feywild. It doesn't talk about how there's this like domain of Prismere. Like, where the hell does domain come from? Well, it explains it how it came into existence later on in the adventure, but it doesn't mention like, hey, the Feywild's now just a bunch of domains, just like Strahd is now. So is this similar to the domains of Dread? Maybe. Turns out it is. But you have to go to DM's Guild and buy the officially licensed Domains of Delight DLC booklet for $8 to get all the lore on how to make Domains of Delight.
Oh
So if
man.
you wanted Feywild War and you bought the book, fuck you. Go to DM's Guild and spend $8 more.
So, like, I already didn't care about the book in particular, and we, not even me, but we have bitched a lot on here about how WotC are money grubbing bad right now. Just anything and everything they can to nickel and dime you, they have been. And now they've actually added DLC that is not an absolute requirement to run this campaign, but I'm sure it would help. I'm sure it would make it better, and the fact that they're gonna charge you 8 extra bucks to get that is some bullshit.
Yeah, it really irritates me that that happens. Now, this goes nothing to I think anyone that actually works D&D, um, because like I think they all did a wonderful job of the book. I think the Feywild book overall is pretty fantastic. It's a great book. It's a great introductory book for people who are just getting into D&D. It's safe, there's no like things that could, scare people away like demons and devils and stuff like that. There's nothing like, ritualistic murder. None of that stuff, the scary stuff of D&D. This is a very nice and safe, welcoming, typical like, nursery rhyme adventure book. And it's great in that regard. But at the same time, we buy these books because it has the lore in it so we could build our own stuff. Now, I guess because book was labeled as a Feywild adventure, we should have known better. But they didn't really say that, hey, all the lore is going to be in a supplement we're going to release later on
Oh,
DM
yeah.
Skill. This is the first time any D&D book has said, hey, go to a third-party website and buy our official material.
Yeah, I've definitely never come across that.
And again, it's nothing to any of the writers or artists. I love them all.
They don't have any control over that kind of
They don't
stuff.
have any control over this at all. And I guess to smooth it over from a PR standpoint, that might not make it so bad. All the money they get for the $8 is going to their charity, the Extra Life charity that they always run.
Yeah.
But at the
Now,
same time, it's like, okay, so now is this material in DM's Guild, since it's now official and released by WotC, is this actual canon core material now?
if
This
it's
matters to a lot of people.
if it's in that book saying, "Hey, you can find out more about this, pay us the $8," I would be willing to bet you that's canon. That's official. Because it tells you in that official book that go download this. Now, who's to say that 6 months from now, a year from now, they don't just say, "Oh, it's not canon," or they rewrite it? I wouldn't be surprised by that. Like, truthfully, this I wouldn't even say this comes from Chris Perkins. It's probably not from any of the names that we know. This is from the higher ups of Hasbro, of WotC. You know, it's not even a D&D thing. It's just hey, this is our process going forward. Let's nickel and dime all these, suckers.
Yeah. So that really annoyed me, and I guess there's something to be said about like they've they've kind of done this in the past already, and no one complained. Like the Lokatha, for example, that race in 5th edition,
Yeah.
that was something they released on DM's Guild, you know. But it was basically like, here's the race, here's a small adventure. All this stuff goes to a relief fund back in 2020.
Yeah, but it was also not tied to an official
Well,
release
yeah,
product, a campaign setting, yeah, that
yeah,
people are buying immediately. Like, if they
there,
want to release individual races at $5 a piece, and all this extra goodies that I complain that we don't have enough of already at $5 a piece or something on DM's Guild, I wouldn't care because it's
Yeah.
not a requirement. It's not lore.
There is the Infernal Machine rebuild, which is a side adventure that happened during Descent into Avernus. That was levels 5 to 10. That almost kind of feels like something that took out of Descent into Avernus and kind of like set it aside, and they went one way with the story to make it like seamless instead of like you building your Infernal Machine, you're just given one.
Right.
Um, and it seems like they could have like swapped either of those in or out of the core book, and like that exists, but it's pay what you want, so
Sure.
anyone can get it, and all that money goes to Extra Life as well too. But again, it's not referenced in the book.
Yeah, if
But
it's not
this
referenced in the
one
book
thing,
and pay what you want, I mean, you can get it for free if you really want. So
yeah. And I get how DM's Guild is now becoming more of a place where the actual artists are kind of coming and dropping their own things and doing their own stuff, and I get that. So like if Ed Greenwood wrote a book about the Underdark and published it, that's pretty much as core as you can get, right? He's the Underdark guy.
I don't know what Ed Greenwood's position with WotC is at this point, but yeah, I would take it as fucking canon.
Right.
But I'm a mark for Ed Greenwood stuff, so
So I feel bad. I feel almost upset for being mad at it, like like it matters. But like I wanted the lore for the Feywild,
yeah, you were talking
and
about the lore for the Feywild before the campaign ever dropped, and there it is for $8 extra.
it's like, do I have to go back and like change everything I'm doing now? Should I make this Alverse basically its own domain? That would be stupid.
No,
I
that
kind
would
of
be
base this.
smart. That's exactly what you should do since they're running with this domain idea. The
Yeah, but then
fact
I
is,
gotta make everything else up around for the entire area. Now I gotta figure out, okay, now who are they trading commerce with? Now I
no,
gotta make up more cities and more other places and a bigger
do,
map when I
does
could have
it,
just drop it wherever I wanted in the original core Feywild world.
I don't think you have to add all of that. Like people can come up with that stuff on their own. You're writing a campaign for people to play through. You can say it's just set in some such and such domain, and if people want, maybe you can write a little blurb about it and move on. You're not writing an official WotC product. You're not writing a 250-page book.
So that's what that irritated me because I'm still going off the fact that the Feywild is a mirror reflection of the material plane. So I haven't read Domains of Dread. Does that plane still exist,
I
or
do
are there
not
now
know.
pocket domains are all around it now? Like it's irritating. It's
Yeah, it's not consistent, and consistency is very important to people like us. Like yeah, I can't speak for all the other DMs out there because there's a lot of them, and I don't know most of them. But I can speak for all of the ones I've talked to over the years and the people that I know within the D&D circle, and the vast majority of us do care about consistent lore. All comic book fans, movie fans, like we care about consistency. We care about the lore being in proper order. So, yeah, not keeping it in consistent order or just deciding to rewrite things, it does upset us. It irritates us. Try not to do it. And sure as hell don't charge us $8 for lore that should have been in the book.
yeah, that made me very upset too. It's like
So
I expected at least a chapter or something or an addition. Like, hey, here's how the Feywild works in 5e, and
if
then
if
just nothing.
if they wanted to release a little side quest, like you were talking about with the Avernus one, that's not it doesn't require it being done to complete the campaign. It doesn't it doesn't drop a massive amount of lore or anything. That's fine. I have way less issue with that. But the lore is what's important. That's what we care about the most.
Or how about this? When you were writing Van Richtenstein's whatever it was, about the domains of dread. How about you taking that a step further and just write the domains of 5th edition book,
The
and
domains of
basically,
Ravenloft.
stuff them all together into one book. Like, this is how domains work. This is how we're moving forward with all our planescaping, since multiverse is basically how we're moving all our stories forward.
Yeah.
And just set that up for us in that book.
Yeah, that would be nice. I mean, but that's probably honestly, that's probably one of the campaigns that's coming up. Because they've talked about releasing other campaigns. We've discussed possibly Planescape being one of those, which hopefully would have all of that lore that you're talking about. But if that is the case, it should have already been released.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So it made me mad, and I'm upset by it. And
I know we're ending this podcast on a bit of a downer, but it needed to be said. Quit money hogging, you little punks.
get off my lawn.
Yep.
Give
I'm
me.
old, I'm cranky, and I have zero problems moving to another gaming system.
I do. I have a lot invested into this. So.
I mean, we will still talk. Yeah, if we leave 5th edition, uh, you know, the podcast will still go and we'll still talk dungeon mastering, which is what this podcast is about. It really is about being a game master, not a specific system. We just tend to talk about 5th edition a lot because that's what we play right now.
Yeah. Speaking of the podcast, I'm actually uploading more of them to the YouTube, and I actually have some of our more recent stream videos that we've done reviewing stuff like the Atomic Barbarian stuff up on our YouTube now.
Awesome.
So people can go through and watch those things. It's grumpy, that's for sure, like we are currently right now.
Yep. Well,
Um,
that's okay. On Tuesday, we hopefully get to stream dwarves, and we'll be a lot less grumpy then.
uh, Crap, I made me forget about what I was going to say. I don't remember what
Good.
I'm saying. My blood pressure's up, so I'm going to go back to fixing this. But yeah, check out our YouTube. There's more stuff on there now. You may find entertaining. And yeah, I'm putting up the old podcast episodes too, probably a couple a week just to kind of catch up. And then hopefully I can start updating our podcasts on a regular to YouTube for people to listen to.
Sounds good.
And then our TikTok is mostly just Jay dancing right now, so check that out.
We don't have a
Um,
TikTok. Let's be
and then
honest.
and then our OnlyFans, there's also Jay dancing, but in the buff, so there's that for
Yep,
you.
we do have that.
So do with that as you will, that information. And yeah,
I think everyone just left at mention of me on OnlyFans.
I will say we only have a couple more of our 1 year anniversary kits left. So if you're thinking about buying one of those anniversary kits, go to grumpydungeonmasters.com, pick up the last couple that are still there, and because we're not going to have that year dice anymore, we'll have more dice in the future, but that's going to be just that one for that 1 year anniversary. So it's special.
Yep. Got to roll that damage with those dice.
All right,
Bye, Craig. Sing us
who's
out,
singing this
Panda.
out? Panda. All right.
Yeah, it'll be Panda because I haven't cut Bruce's song yet, which I need to do. So it'll probably be Panda.
All right. Fair enough. Bye.
See ya.
So long, the grumpiness has been your friend. Now go and spread anger through D&D. No, don't do that. Be happy, be friendly, be awesome, but maintain the boiling hate that inside your heart. I don't know, buddy. I'm rambling at this point. Shut me up and end this podcast.